Welcome to PluginMastery. Today you'll be learning what variables are and how to use them. You'll also be learning what methods are and how to use them to clean up your code. So first off, what is a variable? A variable is a name location that holds your data. A lot of variable types, but in this tutorial we will be going through 3 of them: integer, string, and boolean. To create an integer variable, you do this: type int amount equals 0. This will create a variable. This is the variable, and the type is int, the name is amount, and the variable is 0 because we put 0 right here. So if we would do this, we print some things like the amount is, then here we can either do plus amount, or we can also do like this and dot formatted. Here we probably have to change the version of the language, and I'll do it once more. Okay, now in here you can put the amount, but this could be useful, but most of the time you're probably just gonna do this because this is faster to write. It's just you can get used to this, then when you want to switch you can switch. So basically this is gonna print the amount is, and then the amount, and the amount we set right here, it's 0. What if we want to change the amount? We then right here we can do amount equals 100. There you go. We changed the amount to 100. That means this is gonna print the amount is and then 100. Okay, so what if we wanna do a string variable? String, and then the name, let's just do text. And the names doesn't really matter. You can do your own names because it's just a name. It doesn't matter what it is. You can put text equals, and then your text. Okay, so this is a variable of type string, and it has your text inside of it. So if we print, right here we can print just text. But let's say if you want to add some text before this text or some string values here, you can be like, my string is, and then like this. This is gonna print text, and that's gonna be your text. Okay, so that's pretty simple. How do we change it? This is also pretty equal to the amount. It's just the same thing. It's the text equals changed text. There you go. Now it's changed text, and it's gonna print right here. My string is changed text because we changed the text to changed text. I hope that makes sense. But if it doesn't, you can leave a comment. Okay, so how do we use booleans? Booleans have 2 different values. It can either be true or false. You probably know what true or false is. True is when something is valid. False is when something isn't. So we can do boolean. Then we can do just a name. Maybe like my first boolean. Yeah. Okay. So we can put this as true. Now we have a new variable type boolean, and it's named my first boolean, and it's equal to true. So we can print this: my first boolean equals my first boolean. Okay, this is gonna print my first boolean, and then this is gonna be true. But let's say we want to change this, then it's the same thing again. My first boolean equals false. Okay, there we go. Okay, so you might have seen that whenever we change this, the other one becomes gray. that means that doesn't really, you don't really need this anymore. You just remove it, and this is gonna work the exact same, because you change it and it doesn't really matter. But we can also do this. Then let's say you only want to change my first Boolean variable to false if it's actually true. Then you can do if, and then my first Boolean equals true. This is a long version. You don't want to do this. Instead, you want to remove this and just do my first Boolean. Simple, right? And here we gotta put further brace. We gotta put this. And now, if my first Boolean, you might know what that is. If you don't worry, I will explain it. This means if the variable here is true, because if my first Boolean, and that means if it's true, it's gonna print my first Boolean is, and then my first Boolean. Okay, I hope that's simple enough. One more thing about if statements. This is a if. Okay, so what happens if we put this? This is, okay, so let's explain this in simple words. This means it's not. Without it, it means it is. Okay? I hope that's simple. If it's not, and if it is. So if I put this, then if it's not true, that means if it's false, it's gonna print this. But we know this is never gonna happen because we set it to true. So we can just remove that, and then this is always gonna happen, so we don't really need the if statement. We don't really need the if statement, we can just remove it completely. Like that. Okay, you might also have seen that I did this, and that's a bad habit. You should not do that, but you can see that the lines are a bit different here. You can press Shift and Tab to get it back. One tab. And then you can press Tab to get it forward once. Okay. So, what happens if we want to change the amount to something? If it is something. That might not make a lot of sense right now, but it's gonna make a lot of sense soon. So, we can add here if an amount equals, remember that, 100. Okay. You might have realized that, why do we put equals here? Why not just equals? Okay, so in programming in general, we put equals because equals means you set it to something. But if equals, if you check something. Like, if amount is 100, then you print it. And it's always gonna be 100 because we set it to 100 here. But what if we want to do something different? What if we want to do if it's not 100? Okay, so this might look really weird. Like, what does this mean? What does this mean? So I might have guessed it already, but like, this means if amount, the variable amount here, is not 100, then it's gonna print. Still following? If amount is not 100, then it's gonna print. So we don't need this, we can use it like, or if we have it like this, it's never gonna print, basically. I think that's what they're gonna say here. It's always false, exactly. So this is never gonna happen because it's just never gonna happen. So, methods. What is a method? Oh, methods is a place where you can store and reuse your code. And it's an amazing way to prevent duplicate code. So let's say here we set amount to 100, and then we set amount to 99, and then we print that. The amount is then amount. Okay. This is duplicate code. This is the exact same thing. So how do we make this to a simpler version of the code? Let me show you. So first off, you have to go down here, outside, this is also a method, that's good to know. It starts here and it ends here. In IntelliJ, you can see that it lights up a bit here, and it lights up a bit at the end, where it ends. So you know this is one method. And this is also a method. And this whole thing is a class. From this curly brace to this one. Okay, so now when you know that, you can type private string. Private string, and then let's call this the amount. Okay. This might not make a lot of sense, and don't worry about this error right here. We're gonna fix that. Okay. So this might look like some weird thing, but just trust the process, okay? In here, inside of these funny braces, you're gonna put int amount. Some of you that have maybe some coding experience know what I'm doing right now, but if you don't worry about it. Fine. Okay? Good. So, here you can do two things actually. You can do two things. You can either do, you can copy paste this actually. Copy this. And I did Control or Command if you're Mac, and then X. That means you're removing the thing you have selected, but you're also copying it, so you can paste it later. So here you can do return, and then Command or Control V, and then plus amount. This might not make a lot of sense, but like I said, trust the process. Okay, so in this method right here, we take in a integer, and you know that's a number because I explained it before, and then we return, so that's what you get back. You get back the text or the string, the amount is, and then the amount. So how do we use this method? Kind of just staying there, not being used, not working. You can see that because it's a gray text, and private method, the amount is never used. Okay, so how do we use it? So inside of the system out print, you can put the amount. That's simple. And then you might see if you just put the amount, you get an error, and that's because you gotta put in an integer. But in an integer, you put amount, because amount is an integer. We set it up here, and then we set it to 100 here. So this might look weird. I understand if you don't understand what this means, if that makes sense. I don't know. But this is gonna print the text right here. Okay. But what if we want to do this? What if we don't want this whole print message or this whole print code? Okay, so let's just go back to this method right here, and let's remove string and put void. Oh, what's void? Okay, so this is gonna run once. This is never gonna be returned or anything. Okay? Or you can actually return it, but you don't need to return it. Let's put it that way. Okay, so here you can put print, and then the amount is, and then amount. Okay, this, you might understand this actually. Like, oh, okay, so this will print something, but it's an error up here. How do we fix this error? Okay, so then we can remove this whole line actually, and then we can just put the amount and then the amount. That's simple. This is how we can use some methods to clean up the code and change it in one place. So let's say you want to change the message to the amount is, okay, let's do the amount, and then you just do this, or the amount equals, let's just do that, the amount. And then here you might also see that this, we can replace this with the amount and amount, and that works the same thing. That's the same thing. Okay, but what if we want to change the actual message that it prints? We don't want to go in here and change it every time. We can also do that, and we gotta put another in here, we gotta put a string in here. Then you put string. Okay, and then you do text, and that's the text, and then you gotta like this. String text and int amount. Okay. So how do we use this string text? You might already know it, but some of you might not. So then here you can put text instead. Okay, so what does this do? This doesn't make sense at all. What does this do? I can explain it using some comments. Use comments, you put 2/, then the comment, like here. There we go. Now we can explain what we're doing in here. And this won't, like, if you can put how many comments you like. Like, I could spam this. You spam it. And this won't affect the code. It won't make it, you just won't read it at all. So we're just, let's say you're in a group of coders or developers, and you're working on a project and you wanna tell them, oh, in this method I'm doing this because of this. And here in these comments you can put it. Okay, so what do we actually do? If you read a message, we print a message, yeah, using the string text. What's that? And the int amount. So the text, you might also see there's errors up here, and that's because we gotta put the text. We haven't put the text there. So, you know, strings, gotta put it like this because of the text, like the amount is. Okay, now we know the amount. And then in here we gotta do the same thing. The changed amount is, and then amount. This would print the message or the text you put up here, because the string text you print with the amount. Okay, I hope that makes sense. So then if you run this, you're gonna see when the server starts, you're gonna see the amount is, and then the amount you set it to. And then here you're gonna see the changed amount is gonna be 99 because we changed it to 99. So that's the basics of methods.